I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Second item on the agenda is prayer, and we have Pastor Nicole Swartz from Faith United Methodist Church to offer prayer. Pastor.
Please join me in prayer or observe a moment of silence. Gracious God, as we set out to do the work of this community, we ask that you guide our words and our actions, that you show us those places where your work needs done. Lord, we ask that you pour out your blessing on this community, that you pour out your light of hope into places where there's darkness, and that you protect and guide those who would like to do the work of making Parsons a better place. Help us be one in you and one in unity with all of those who care about this community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The next item is the agenda. I have one deletion in the consent docket. Item D, we need to delete that out of the consent docket. Item D. Yes. And we have one addition under old business. It'll be item C. It's professional service agreement with wastewater backup power.
With the deletion of D in the consent docket and addition of old business C, professional services agreement, make a motion to agree or approve this agenda.
I second.
Commissioner Barnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor York?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the commission about anything that's not on the agenda? Dr. Gilmore, you'd like to address the commission? Would you state your name and address for the record?
I'm Wayne Gilmore. I live at 3618 Durr Avenue. And my son lives with me this evening. I read my comments to be concise and to keep under the 5-minute window. Saturday's Parsons Sun had a front page article entitled, "City May Seek Grant for New Trail." I read this article Saturday morning before going on my daily run. My wife came home as I was leaving and told me there were several people actually running on the Frisco Trail that morning, as well as a new part of the trail which leads from the Arboretum. If you haven't been on it, it's really nice. I made the point to spend part of my run on the trail and saw one other person when I was on there. It was 28 degrees at that point. But there were still people on that Saturday morning. I thought that was neat on a cold morning. I look back and laugh at all the hoops our trail committee had to go through to get this project to break ground, including, I believe, 3 different votes by the city commission. During and since that time, I have seen towns all over the region building trails with overwhelming support. Pittsburgh recently approved yet another one. I believe it's the 3rd one since ours was built. I thought the article in the paper was informative, and a few of the quotes got me to thinking. Quotes like, "Trails are not particularly a well-liked subject for some folks in this town. And while trails are not popular with many people, one built through Forest Park may be easier to sell in the community because Forest Park is heavily used, and especially for walkers." While those comments are not inaccurate, I'm here to ask you all to focus on the positive side of this issue as it comes in down the road possibly. I'm not at all saying to ignore the other side, not at all, but focus on those many who support healthy living and active lifestyles for its citizens. I've probably been to over 25 city commission meetings in my 14 years here, and the largest meeting I ever attended was one packed with supporters for this very same issue. 4 of our 5 commissioners obviously are looking for the best and most economical ways to improve infrastructure within our city, at least when it pertains to this issue. It takes creative leaders sometimes with the ability to see the value in stretching our dollars to improve our community. In the article, the lone dissenting commissioner is quoted saying, "People in this town will be resistant to the project because it involves a trail, when the city should be spending more money on infrastructure." We all have been near the park after high rains and know the tremendous problems it presents. Last I knew, fixing drainage issues, replacing drain pipes, and box culverts are clearly infrastructure improvements. Let's review. According to the article, the project high-end estimate is $700,000, with the city share being $140,000. The estimate to fix the drainage problem alone will be $200,000. So the city saves at least $60,000. Saves, and greatly improves the water problem at Forest Park and improves the walking service around the park. What's not to support about applying for this grant? I believe it's once again a case of being against something positive for Parsons, just for the sake of being against it. None of us expect you to agree with each other and with staff on every issue. Don't expect it. We all hope that you will ask tough questions and make tough, well thought out decisions in the best interest of the citizens. Even when you're not in favor of an issue, I hope you still approach your opposition in a positive manner, which is exactly what good, strong leaders do. Pessimistic and negative approaches are not the kind of leadership our city needs. I again ask you all to continue to make decisions based on what is best for our community. Their recall petition was a referendum defeated by a 2-to-1 margin by the citizens of our city, overwhelmingly wanting positive leaders who love Parsons, positive leaders who want to shop in Parsons, positive leaders who want to have their health care in Parsons, and most of all, positive leaders who are proud to call Parsons their home. Thank you.
Thank you. Order in the commission room, please. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? Approach the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Erin Martinez. My address is 116 North 27th here in Parsons. This is my first commission meeting, so sorry, I'm not sure exactly how everything works. Actually, it kind of goes along with what Dr. Gilmore had said. I am a nursing student at Pitt State, and this is one of my projects, and I need to ask how this group, the City Commission, can influence the health and well-being of its citizens. Yeah, I guess if you comment on that, I don't know.
Well, what was your question again, ma'am?
How can the City Commission influence the health and well-being of the citizens of Parsons? Which kind of goes along with Dr. Gilmore's.
Well, you know, we as city commissioners need to make quality life issues. We need to make decisions regarding that as far as our public is concerned. We need to do everything we can to ensure that we do healthy things for our community in a positive manner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission? Since we have no other public comments, we'll move on with the agenda. Next item on the agenda is the consent docket.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to set H and J aside for a little discussion.
Do you want to make that a motion, Mr. Barnett?
Yeah, I move we set H and J aside for new business and discussion.
I second it.
Commissioner Barnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor York?
Yes. Item H and J out of the consent docket is moved to new business. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the consent docket?
I have a couple of questions on
Okay.
on item A. These are the accounts payable things, and the first question I have is on page 23, and it has to do with Class Ltd, the recycling that we help support there. And I wonder if we could ask for maybe a annual or semi-annual, an annual report on the number of pounds or tons they've recycled like for the last year. It'd just be interesting to know that, I think. because it's a good service that they do. Also on page 24F, a little over halfway down the page, is Pacific Telemanagement Services. A couple of pay phones, one at the airport and one, this general administrative, is that here, or the police department, or where's that other
One
pay?
out here by the elevator, and then there's one between the two buildings out at the airport, I believe.
Okay. And are these monthly fees? Is there any way to track, I'm sure there's a way to track if these things are ever used. Does anybody use a payphone anymore?
The one in this building is used. The one at the airport was out there more of a safety issue if someone didn't have a phone available. The one at the airport is not used.
Yeah.
for that at all.
I was just thinking if I had my own airplane, I'd probably have a cell phone too,
Mhm.
but
We can
So-
check on them. I can get a report.
it might be worthwhile as a safety feature out there too. I don't know, but that's, what, $600 a year?
Mhm.
So I just wondered if they were really worth keeping. And I think those were the questions on that one, and then I guess that's all I've got for right now.
Now, can we have a motion to approve the consent document?
Just one
So
question.
you have a question
I have
also.
a question.
All right.
I contacted Debbie. I had several questions in item B. Debbie, did you get an answer for me on the asbestos removal, page 20, third from the bottom? MWH Laboratories, 1234 Ward, I was told.
If I can refer it to Derek, I'll let him. If that's
That'd be
okay.
fine.
We do have AC pipe, asbestos lined concrete pipe in the London edition. There's 2 stretches of that, and we're required by the state to monitor once every 9 years. There's only 3 labs in the nation that can do that.
Okay. Yeah, Debbie was aware of the address, but wasn't aware of what the reason was, and so she said she'd thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions about the consent document?
If there's no other questions, I'd move approval of the consent document.
Second?
Commissioner Barnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Mayor York.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. We have item A, North Township Fire Response. I believe, Fred, don't we have some people here from the North Township that maybe wants to address the commission, or?
At the last meeting, it was requested that we try and have some folks
Right.
here, just, I think, to answer questions, but if they have a statement they'd like to make, that's your call, so.
Is there anyone here with North Township that would like to make a statement to the commission? Would you state your name and address for the record?
Rod Landerfield, 7 Pine Ridge Road, and since I didn't know I was going to speak, I'll see if I can go ahead and wing this a little bit. The reason I'm here, and I think Larry Stevie also is here to explain some of the information about the North Township and why we, as a township, are looking to partner and have the city to back us. And I think probably the best thing to do is have Larry explain, because we think there's some miscommunication of what we saw in the paper about it being a primary versus what we call the automatic aid. So there's some issues I think that need to be addressed before we go from there.
Okay, Chief Stevie, you want to come up and address the commission, please?
Thank you. I passed it right to you, didn't I?
Well, as you guys know, we've talked about this a couple times, and what we're truly trying to do, and it's not that we're going to take over the township, it's not that we're going to take full fire protection of the township. I mean, it's strictly only for structure fires, and it's automatic aid, so we will be responding in conjunction with the Neosho Township Fire Department to these structure fires. We're going to be going to these fires as mutual aid, 99% of the time anyways. All this does is we respond a little quicker. You know, as far as the information is concerned, I believe that at the end of the day, that nobody will see the difference in this, because we're going within minutes already. This would just hasten that a little bit. You know, we've got a very good mutual aid understanding with all the volunteer fire departments in the community. We had a very good example of that today. Everybody's willing to work with each other, and this is just one way that we can bolster support for a particular area of the county that doesn't actually have their own fire protection. We would run, like you said, in conjunction with Neosho Township, these fires. A primary, I don't know what the word primary, where that comes from. Will it be one of our primary response districts? You could say that, but at the same time, it's still in the Neosho's primary response district too. So, with that being said, entertain any questions you guys would have of me, because I think that there's probably particular things that you want to know that maybe I can share some information.
Commissioner Shaw, do you have questions for Chief?
Sure, I've got a few. Currently, in the information we were given, says the fire department has 42 fire contracts in Neosho Township.
No, they're not in Neosho Township.
In North Township.
No,
Well, that's total, I believe.
that's total that we have.
I think there's 23 in North Township.
23 in North Township.
And I'd have to go back, I don't have the number right in front of me, but I think it's about $3,200 that we collect from residents of North Township, $3,250.
So, see, that right there is an illustration of why it's too soon to make a decision, because it's the citizens' fire department, and it's represented to the citizens. I don't know what's going on yet. And so, because of some of the information here is you know, the best that could be done at the time, but that's how it is. Later on in this information, it says that Parsons Fire Department, most of the time, most shifts are manned with 6 firemen on duty. And I'm curious how many shifts are not manned with 6 on duty, and how many are on duty when there's not 6? How does that happen?
And I would have to take, I mean, I could go down and break that down better, but as people are on vacation or sick time, we work down to 5, and that's what reduces our number. So it depends kind of on the shift, Tom. Some shifts have more seniority, which allows for more time off, you know, through vacation and stuff. But I would guess if you just maybe pull a number at night, 50-60% of the time we work with 5 versus 6.
Okay, so, okay, and that the reason that's important is, you know, two in a truck go. You know, how many do you have left? Then got some things that aren't questions so much here, but another question is, and it's presented as a question in the information we were given, is exactly how many structures are within this area we're dealing with.
Well, we kind of try to do a quick count. I mean, we didn't go out and just drive the road, but we think there's about 100 residential structures in the part of North Township that we're talking about.
Now, this would include more than a residential, though. It'd be garages or...
Sure. I mean, if you went
structure,
building to
right?
building, that would change numbers just like it would in town. We're counting residential units when we talk about the numbers you were given in town. We didn't count garages in town or things like that, so we're just trying to count them the same way, Tom.
Okay. So, another question I've asked several times and haven't received an answer, but and is there any other city in Kansas or Missouri or Oklahoma that we know of that does what we're considering doing here? Is there a precedent for this?
There are automatic aid agreements between agencies throughout the country. Now, it's the first time I've heard this question, so if I had a chance to research like it, but when I do stuff like draw up automatic aid agreements or get drafts, we don't sit down and make this up from scratch. I mean, that would take the attorney and me days and weeks and months. So, you know, we get online and we find other agencies that have arranged things similar to what we're talking about, and then we adjust the format of that document for us. And that's exactly what was done with this document. It's not something that we spent 2 weeks designing. We go out and find something that's similar in nature, and then I look at the wording and get it kind of how I want, then I run it through legal counsel and make sure that things are kind of right, and then we run it through the agencies that are looking at it to make sure they think things are right. So I can assure you that there are other agencies that do this, because that's where all this comes from.
Okay, all right. As far as questions, that's probably the only questions I have right now. There's quite a few statements I have.
Would you like to make those statements?
Yeah, well, I don't know that if I don't want to keep anybody standing for
Okay.
that.
Does anyone else have any questions for Chief Stevie?
Larry, I kind of come back with, I wish you'd have been here Thursday. We had a very lengthy discussion. Tom brought up some very good points. And my counter offer, and I've thought long and hard about that, taking off fireman hat of 29 years and putting on a commission hat and protecting the citizens and doing what's best for this community. I see it in two ways. The primary can be thrown out as far as primary, I don't know where that came from, but as far as protecting the North Township, as a city, fire department, we mutual aid with everyone in the county. We have that in place. Was the driving force behind that. Neosho Township is needing some assistance to cover this area.
Well, I don't know if they would
Well,
like
they
some assistance.
would like some assistance.
But that's not really where it comes from. It comes from North Township just asking, so.
Okay. So we're looking, and Tom brought it up, Commissioner Shaw brought it up, we can look at it two ways. If this North Township wants covered with a simultaneously, at the same time response call from county, a fire contract would do that. We as a city could do a fire contract that would cover North Township, specifically North Township, and automatic, not mutual, automatically be responded with Neosho Township to that structure.
That's what this is.
No. You have, according to what I've heard, it has to be redistricted. Now, if we're talking on the other hand
This is just a fire contract with North Township. That's all this is.
But it's in a different...
it's in a different format, and it's...
It's not the same one we use for a residential
Well,
structure, you're right.
Well, I'm talking fire and premium insurance. This is how I'm getting to the nitty-gritty. North Township is looking at two different ways. One, to be peace of mind that they would be covered by fire. Parsons Fire Department responding immediately. As soon as the structure fire come in, Parsons Fire Department will respond with a fire contract immediately with Neosho Township to that structure. On the other hand, I'm hearing Commissioner Shaw brought it up that if we do this agreement that you have, it will lower fire insurance in the northern district from a 10 to a 6, if that's not right.
Okay. Will it lower fire insurance?
Yes.
That is a question that I can't sit here and tell you it will or it won't, because that's up to the ISO, which is the company that rates places for their fire insurance.
Right.
Do I believe it would? I believe it could affect it in a year or two, but they don't come around and rate everything.
Right.
As you know, they have to come by at least every 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no guarantee, first of all, that they're going to come by anytime soon.
Okay.
Second, we've talked to the guy from ISO a little bit to see. He kind of believes that it would help. But did he give us a guarantee? Yes, that's going to lower. No. There's not been anybody that can give us a guarantee until ISO has been here. Will it lower their insurance? You know, again, I can't tell you, Kevin said here, that anybody's insurance is going to lower. If it did, it would only go down to where it was previous to it becoming a 10, which it was at a 6 then, as you all know.
Right.
But will it go to a 4 like the cities? No, because we still have the fire protection here in the city. We're rated as a 4.
Right.
Because we have the paid fire department and the equipment, and it's based off equipment and where your stations are located and how many personnel you have and
Right.
how much hose you have. I mean, there's just a whole
That's a
gamut of
gamut
stuff.
thing.
So can I sit here and tell you honestly that it'll go down? No, and I believe in a year or 2 or 3 it would, but that's my belief. I don't do the rating. There's nothing in here that ensures that that ISO will take this and say, yep, that's it. That's the one that does it.
Well, as a standby, as a city that abuts Northern Township, I feel it is a need to be able to provide that coverage and assist Neosho Township, just like 3 departments came today to assist us in our. It is our obligation as a city to assist those in any mutual aid fashion. That's what we're here for. That's why we have that in place.
And again, like Fred
But
said.
to blanket, but from what I'm hearing, I keep hearing, we're wanting to do a flat rate. Everybody throughout North Township, a flat rate for the fire coverage. Then I hear a mill levy. Then the information that you give me, according to this, is per household in the City of Parsons, each household pays approximately $220 a year
Okay, now.
for that fire insurance.
Let's talk about that for just a second.
Okay.
That's assuming that the revenue taken in by the city is 100% from the citizens, which, as we all know, that's not the case. People come in and purchase stuff, sales tax. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Now, that property tax is different.
Mill levies.
Okay, but that's not all mill levies. We're talking about the whole general fund when we use 219. Okay, that is sales tax also. Okay, so if you want to, there's no way to break it down to tell exactly what that number is. That's a number that we try to generate on you guys' behalf so you would have something to use. Is all of the money that supports Parsons Fire come from the citizens of Parsons? No. It comes from the city of Parsons because the sales tax that we generate here comes into the general fund. Whether Richard Babcock spends $50 at Walmart or not, he lives outside the city, then we get his sales tax too. So it's just one of those deals where, can we say the whole 219? That's just a number based on the budget and the number of residential units in the city of Parsons.
Right. Well, even if we were to decrease that amount in half, per se, let's just use, if we're talking money in specifics, if we were to cut that in half, the flat rate that has been proposed wouldn't even cover that.
Okay, now,
See, all fire departments get money from different townships to support that fire department, buy equipment and all that. Parsons Fire Department is going to provide a service to a township that is not supporting any equipment,
Property taxes.
manpower, property taxes only on the county side, not the city.
Right.
So I'm talking about specific to Parsons Fire Department responding outside.
Right.
So back to my original thought and concept of the whole, we're either talking about peace of mind and cover those people and assist on the fire end of it, or are we talking about lowering the insurance? To blanket everybody with a mill levy is like, to me, not right. There's people out there in the county, just like there's people in the city, that can't afford some of these services. They're gambling that they're not living inside the city of Parsons and provide 24/7
Okay.
response right there. So
Let me just break the numbers down just a little farther for you. So if you want what I would feel is the truest picture, and this is just me doing math, and as everybody in this room knows, you can make math look like whatever you want, okay? And I want everybody to know here, I was brought this proposal, and if you guys turn this down, I'm going to go back to my job and do just like I did today and yesterday, and we're still going to do mutual aid, and everything's going to be fine. So let's get that on the table. If you take the $219 that we quoted you, and you figure what percentage of calls we run as structure fires only, and you take that 6% of our calls are structure fires, and we're only going to respond to structure fires out there, right? So 6% of $219 is what? $15.
it's,
Now wait, this is math, and like I said, I'm not trying to pull any shiny games here.
No,
That's
I can tell.
$15, and Tom has been saying that he wants them to pay double, well, we're only going to structure fires out there, so that's only going to be 6% of those calls.
Just let me say what I've been saying. What I'm saying is that extending fire service outside the city limits on an automatic basis without a reciprocal arrangement like we have with Altamont runs counter to the most basic need of the City of Parsons, which is to increase our assessed valuation. The only way you can do that is to have new homes and new businesses built within the city limits. And if you incentivize people to build outside the city limits, then you're working counter to the best interest and the most basic interest of the City of Parsons. When I looked at the tax rates for other communities throughout the state and in Lebec County, the lower your population, the higher your tax rate is generally what's going to happen. So the more we incentivize building new homes outside the city, the more we're driving our population down. In what are we going to be? 30 years will be Columbus, 50 years will be St. Paul. I like Columbus and I like St. Paul, but when you lose your population, it changes your city. We've seen that over the past 30 or 40 years in Parsons, and we need housing development within the city limits to get people to build inside of town rather than providing the city services and incentivizing people to leave town to build.
And Tom, that's the exact, I mean, you're exactly right. I'm not, we need people to build in town. We need to build assessed valuation.
So if we do this, and if we do it so that it's very economical, even less than the citizen of Parsons pays for that fire service, then you're extending the city services outside of town, and the people outside of town are getting the same rate or even less than they would pay in Parsons. And well, I know you disagree with me on that, but I live in Parsons, so I know that I do pay substantial taxes, and I respect and value Neosho or North Township and the people that live there. Great people. Most of them have been bigger contributors to making the City of Parsons what it is than I will ever dream of being. But I do think that this particular proposal runs counter to the growth and strength of the City of Parsons. And
How many fires do you run outside
Structure fires, Frank?
in a year?
I don't know, Keith, North Township, how many structure fires a year in North Township? 2, 3 on an average?
One last year, 2 the year before.
Yeah, so I mean,
The whole township.
I think.
That was your response outside.
Yeah, that's
How
mutual
many-
aid.
Okay, now how many responses have they had coming in?
Well, more than that, but that's a whole different township. I guess.
Right, I know, but
I mean, they were in town-
both of them together.
They were in town today. We typically don't go much into Neosho Township. They call us once in a while. Mostly they call us in North Township because it's close. So how many times do they come in town a year? 6, 5, 6 probably.
but that's
But that's a different, that's not comparing apples.
Well, I know, but I'm just wondering the trade-off, the mutual
Right.
aid back. And
You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
you can talk about trade-offs, today was a good example,
Yeah.
but we had 30, 35 firefighters standing there on, ready to go to work today, had we needed them if things had got worse. Fortunately, we were able to handle it pretty good with about a dozen people, but that's the mutual aid concept, and that's why we have to have that piece no matter what we decide on this. Because those 3 agencies came in and supplied personnel for us today at no cost, and we used them, and we were thankful that they came. Because when you have a structure as big as that, a commercial building or a residential unit like that, you really need bodies. I mean, by the time you put that stuff on and climb 8 flights of steps, it's pretty taxing before you ever start fighting a fire, because you can't use the elevators and that kind of stuff. So that's why we don't want to mess with the mutual aid part of this. This is just about this agreement.
Well, specific to the mutual aid, that will never change. I think what we all, you, North Township, National Township, and this board need to zero in on is automatic aid. plain and simple, North Township wants fire protection from the Parsons Fire Department, City of Parsons. That's what this is all about. Is that right?
That's right.
If we rewrote the contract to cover North Township with fire contract, not just a 2 mile that we have now, but within North Township, that changes no mutual aid agreement with Labette 9, changes no mutual aid agreement with Neosho Township, changes no mutual aid agreement with any agreement within the Labette County. We will respond simultaneously with the contract voluntarily to those people that live in Northern Township. We will respond simultaneously with Neosho Township to that structure fire. Is that not right? We will respond same time as Neosho
That's what we're
in the
proposing,
northern.
yes.
But that is different. That is not that. This is where we're different, Larry, because you're saying that if we do a fire contract and we respond simultaneously with Neosho Township to a structure fire in Northern Township, that's going to automatically lower insurance rating for those people in that. This is what I'm just telling you the information that I've been given. So that will automatically lower the insurance rating from a 10 to a possible 6, because that's what Neosho Township carries as a 6. That, I think, is where this is all going. They don't want a fire contract. Northern Township people don't want a fire contract like we have within the 2 mile. They want this agreement because eventually it will lower their insurance ratings. Because if that's not the case, why wouldn't they just voluntarily pay $150 a year for a fire contract and us respond anyway? Then I get the feedback, well, we just won't do anything. We'll just wait till Neosho Township gets there and they'll call us mutual aid. That's something that they'll have to go to bed and sleep on. But if they want Parsons Fire Department to respond within their district for at least what everybody else has been paying for, I don't know how many years, as long as I can remember, 29 years, $150 to cover them, then I don't know what else to tell them other than, sorry you moved to the county. You should have lived in the city if you want that coverage. If you want to sleep at night, know that you're going to get Parsons Fire Department right out of the chute, first call fire contract, and take that automatic aid. And to me, I'm totally against it. I'm totally against it. I would like to have met some of the board and what their ideas was on it, but I don't know where the difference is, Larry, between what I know what's going on and the difference in how that's reading in black and white. I've read it. I don't understand.
And see, I don't.
What the difference
I guess I'm
is.
confused too, because I don't see where you read that into this, but that's, I mean, I don't know, Kevin, I really don't, I mean, because that's not what I read into this. I mean, this, and like I said, at the end of the day, I brought this to you guys to make a decision. You know, I'm not asking you to do something for me because this isn't about me.
No, this is about covering the people in Northern Township,
Right,
assisting the Osho.
I don't want to stand up
still
here and
provide
argue with you
coverage.
because guess what? I don't,
The concern I have, again, the basic concern is, you know, I don't want to do something that will erode the tax base in the city of Parsons, because that's brought us to where we are now, and it's a real struggle. We have, of the cities of the first class in the state of Kansas, we have the highest total mills levied in the city of Parsons of any city of the first class. Now, that's not all the city. Of the total city levy itself, we're the 5th highest, but the total mill levy in the city of all taxing entities, we're the highest. And if the legislature chooses this year to act on that business fixtures thing that's backed by lots of big corporate money, then Labette County's tax rate would go up another 10.93%. So we would, you know, we would be coughing up more tax dollars that way. So the tax base in the city is my big concern. But on the secondary end of it, fire contracts are available right now to anybody that lives within 2 miles to get an automatic response for $150 a year. If there are 100 structures there, $150 a year would be $15,100 a year to cover all of that. So that's one way to do it. But if the fire contract, though, I don't think has any impact on an insurance rate. So if these numbers that we've been given, like this $219.45 per household in Parsons, if that's not an accurate reflection of what's going on, then I don't know how I could make a decision tonight with inaccurate information. So that, of course, I probably have lots of times in my life, so why the heck change it now?
Commissioner Hoagland, you have a question?
Not necessarily a question, but just a comment. I agree completely with Commissioner Shaw that we are eroding our tax base with millions of dollars of property outside the city limits. My problem is we don't have an option for that property inside the city limits, so basically we have forced them to go outside. And to me, that is the root of the problem that we need to fix.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And that's what that Red Tail Ridge was all about, and that flopped. And the other ideal spots that I can identify for what do I know about real estate? But most of those good spots for subdivisions happen to be in North Township. So if they have, if there's fire protection and rural water and city sewer available in some portion of North Township, then there's not that much incentive to annex that land and to bring it in for a subdivision. So you really, not necessarily, but it seems like you run the risk of cutting off areas that the city could grow with new subdivisions of the quality that we're talking about. Because, why would you want to come into the city and pay our tax rate when you didn't need the services because they're already available?
The information that we've got, that is the contract that you have in front of you.
It would be very similar. The only thing that has been changed in this is it does say about the mill levy versus, I think there was an actual dollar amount in that one.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we ever actually got a copy of a contract. I don't think we've seen that, have we?
I don't believe so.
You showed me one, but I haven't seen it.
I'm really more confused than Commissioner Shaw is right now, so.
If I can.
Yes.
The material that you were presented was an attempt to provide you with some statistical numbers. The 219 is an actual calculation. You take the 2012 fire department expenditures divided by the number of reported households, 5,034 inside the city limits of Parsons. That gets you to $219.45.
That number includes sales tax?
No, that's just expenditures, Commissioner, just as it says here.
But
2012 fire department expenditures were $1,104,695. Divide that by 5,034. That's cost per household. Just a straight statistical calculation. Fire cost per person is the same thing. It's just a statistical. You cannot do a true statistical analysis without, one, a lot of estimates for your base numbers, and two, a lot of assumptions of what's going on out in the North Township District. It's just like Larry's point. It's difficult to do because I can't tell you how much sales tax North Township generates for the city of Parsons.
Yeah.
I will wager that it's significant, but I can't get a number on it. I can't get a number on it. So we can't. So the next item we tried to do was, well, how much of the annual known property taxes support the fire department? Well, if you take property taxes and make that statistical analysis, that's 37.5% of the fire department annual cost is funded through property tax. Well, that's $414,261, okay?
Okay, it'd also be 31 or 37.5% of that 219.45, right?
Yes. All I tried to do with these numbers was give you some numbers that you could try and use with your analysis. Yeah, can we bullet point it on down to we only ran 37 structural calls inside the city, so we should use 37 to compare to Township? Yeah, that's a statistical analysis, but is it a stretch? Sometimes you can stretch statistics farther than maybe they should be stretched. But in the same breath, Larry, you can take your total department budget and divide it by 37 structural calls, and the cost to respond to a structural call was nearly $30,000 if you just do that statistic. But that statistic is not usable because it's just too far out there. That's the only purpose for these, and it says in the very beginning of this handout that bottom line is what they're wanting is to modify response protocol. That's what we're here for. They want to go from an automatic with a contract at $150 a piece, where only 23 people in North Township, and it says in here there are 42 total, that's around the entire city, have contracts. 23 of them are in North Township. Okay? So how do we modify the protocol? Do you go from a automatic, if you have a contract in place, to a mutual aid if you don't? Or in the North Township area that was identified on a map for you, does dispatch know that they're calling us immediately instead of calling Neosho Township first? They may call us automatically, I don't know.
They would if they had a contract.
If they have a contract.
If they have a contract, then we will respond in North Township.
And I also believe,
So why, what I'm saying through the whole, why is the automatic age such a catch in this whole situation when we can modify it to cover North Township with a contract?
The contract,
Plain and
the word contract and the word automatic aid mean the same thing to me. I mean, because it's a contract for automatic aid.
Is the contract that we have, the 42 that are written for the Parsons Fire Department that are covering the 42, is their contract for the 150-day pay a year, is it written just like that?
No.
It's a contract.
Then it's different. You're wanting something other than fire response, and that's where the whole kicker is.
The other part of that, let me explain a little bit about the contract we have now. They're $150 a year, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And $1,000 if we respond
And
to
if we
that
respond, their
contract.
insurance company has a rider in the policy to pay us $1,000.
Yes.
If we respond in the city of Parsons, we cannot charge an insurance company $1,000 because they're a tax-paying citizen.
Right.
Out there, we can have the rider in the contract for them to pay us $1,000.
Right.
If we became a mill levy agency, as we talked about with this contract, they're going to charge 1 mil for Parsons Fire to respond. We would potentially, and I haven't checked this all out, but we would potentially lose the ability to collect that $1,000 because we are now being funded by a collection of taxes from those citizens.
Right.
So that's just another caveat to this. I don't know how that works. Do we collect a lot of $1,000? No. No, I mean, we don't. Are we going to collect more as a mill levy than we do as contracts? A little bit, about $1,500, $1,800 it appears. But at the same time, until this all kind of shakes out, and there's a right to get out of this at any point that you want out. It's not, you're not locked in for 5 years or 10 years. Within, I think it's a 60-day notice in here, I think it is 30 days or 60 days, you can get out.
I think once it's done, though, there probably won't be any going back. But a couple of things I'd like to ask is, number one, what would that 1 mil in North Township?
Roughly $5,300.
Okay, so if the average household in Parsons pays $219.45 and only 37.5% of that comes from property tax, my trusty calculator says that's $82.29 per household that comes from property tax. $82.29 per household. If there's 100 households, I had that on here.
You're right, it's 100.
Anyway, it's
$53.
52 now?
$53.
50.
100 households, $5,300. That's $53. I mean, that's.
But $82.29 is what a citizen of Parsons would pay at that 37.5% of the $219.45 is $82.29.
And the only part I want to throw in there, Tom, is that that's for everything we do.
Well, yeah, but that's, when you live in the city, you do get some, you have some restrictions and you do get some perks. And if you didn't, why would you ever live in the city? I mean, why would anybody live here? But $82.29, if you were to double that, like you double water and sewer, then that comes up to $165 per household. And contracts are available now for $150. To me, I don't really want to do this because it runs counter to the most basic need the city has, and that's to expand our tax base. But if it's done, it at least needs to bring in enough revenue to the city that there's some reward with 16,000 or the 15,000 or whatever, 16,000. Would that make a payment on a fire truck every year? We need a new fire truck? No, it wouldn't. I'm just curious about these things. See, I'm not ready to make a decision on this because I want to be a good neighbor and I don't want to upset anybody because they're wonderful and important people that live in that area. And here I am saying things that they probably want to take me out back and show me a thing or two. But you've got to think this through. You've got to think it through.
You have the right to continue this discussion, table the issue and move on and think about it some more and ask for more information. If the information is available, we will ferret it out somehow, but statistically, it's very difficult because you don't know the total revenue stream that is given by North Township or any of the others that adjoin the city as far as that goes. You just can't get that kind of detail. And the fire contract, it does these folks absolutely no good other than it makes them feel better because they have a contract with us that we're going to automatically respond. It doesn't impact their insurance at all.
So, but as far as public safety or their safety, it does them a tremendous amount of good.
Sure.
A fire contract.
It gives them that personal satisfaction that they know that Larry's guys are going to run the second the dispatch calls. They're not theoretically going to have to wait for a mutual aid request. It's, as Larry said it initially, it's just a time thing.
But if it does them no good, then how? What we're talking about would do them no good either. Then.
Oh, no. You get automatic response. If you sign the contract he's talking about, which would be a contract with the city and North Township, it would provide for automatic response.
But a fire contract does that, doesn't it?
Right. But from an insurance point of view, the contract is not recognized. It only provides...
See, that's unfortunately, that's kind of the crux of the issue. And it is the insurance issue. And for the City of Parsons, it's the tax base issue. And there are two issues there that are kind of button up against each other. And I haven't figured out which one is the most important yet. But I see that.
I tend to agree with Commissioner Shaw. I think we need to table this thing and either get more information or look at things a little bit differently. I'm, for one, not ready to make a decision on it myself.
Have we got any of the rural fire department people here that'd like to respond to it and put any of their input into it?
Yeah, I'll be happy to speak. I don't know what I'm going to tell you.
Would you approach the podium, please? State your name and address for the record.
Keith Keller, 24,055 Vine Road. I also own rental properties in the City of Parsons, and I pay taxes in the City of Parsons, and I work in the City of Parsons. And I'm here as a representative of the fire department as chief. We actually have the mutual agreement or the contract with North Township to cover North Township. And we also have a nice mutual agreement with Parsons and all the other county fire departments. We go as far as Altamont or wherever. We get paid nothing difference for this. We get no, because we are a tax-based type agency. So if we want to talk about budgets, I can tell you what a small budget will do for a rural fire department that doesn't help anybody. But the bottom line is, in order to give, and I'm going to talk life safety, I'm not going to talk about taxes, I'm going to talk about all this stuff. All it's going to take is to save one person's life in a structure fire between here and our fire station, because Parsons can respond at the same time that Neosho Township does. They are a manned department, you guys know that, and we have a 5-minute response to 10-minute response, depending on what time of day it is, to get our troops assembled. But we also have the water source. If they get out in this rural area, we bring water to them. We can roll 10,000 gallons of water, and a lot of these houses we're talking about do not have water source other than swimming pool. So I'm just telling you that the joint effort of the two departments is for the good for the community and good for life safety. And I don't want to go any further than that because I don't want to get into taxes and all that. I can tell you I pay enough taxes in that county that we all know about that. I don't need to elaborate on it, but that's about all I would say. And I can just appreciate today we came in as mutual aid Parsons on the Parsons end, and I'm happy to do it. I took off my job and I had 8 other volunteers took off their job. Most of them clock out and come to help, and that's what we're here for. So, to address the commission, I'd like for you to really consider this. It's a very important aspect for the fire in Beck County, Parsons included, and the mutual aid and the life safety of this county.
All right, thank you. I really would like to see, you can sit down. I would really like to see something more detailed in writing than what I have in front of me, in some fashion. If that's possible. Okay, if you can get it to us maybe by the next work session, that's, okay? All right. So this was just up for discussion. There was no decision need to make, so we don't need to make any motion or anything like that, so. All right. Next item under old business is sanitation fund tipping fee increase.
I'll be happy to go through all the information again, but you've had it for a couple weeks now, and hopefully it was, provided the information you needed to analyze the issue and come to a decision.
I think so. I think we discussed it at length on Thursday, and Commissioner Barnett, I believe, brought up a situation that, we're at $11.80 right now, and tipping fee of adding 20 cents to $12.
The reason for that is 7 cents is the cost. 20 cents is kind of minor. If we can put that into a fund that will maintain itself, I can see maybe if we do it right and it works right, 3 or 4 years down the road, we're not going to have to take a big increase. You look through the figures and they've increased a little, but not very little. And if 20 cents, I'd rather see 20 cents now than $3 later. That's my whole input.
And I agree, and the city shouldn't have to bear the brunt of that. I mean, it's a fee that's charged to the city, and I think the citizens of Parsons should be willing to accept that fee for sanitation.
I understand, like Kevin says, everything adds up, but 20 cents and 20 cents is better than 5 and 10 and 15. And if it'll maintain and we can do that and we can get a positive result out of it, I see no reason why not to do it now.
So was this amount 20 cents or 25 cents or what?
Well, it came out just a little bit above 20 cents, and what we did was just round it. It's easier to round things so people can understand it. If you come up with 1183 or 11 or 1203, they want to know. It creates more conversation in the end, and so that's why we rounded it down.
Was the actual 1187?
That was the yes.
Well,
That's what the 7 cents that Commissioner Shaw had suggested, just the tipping fee increase. I think it was 7 cents.
On the one line item.
On the one line item, yeah.
My original thought was to split the difference between the two and make it 15 cents instead of the 20 cents. I have no problem going with the 20 cents.
I think we haven't had an increase in sanitation from 2007, whereas 2008 was it. I think we went from 1055 to 1180 in 2007, and we've had increases of like 437 per ton. That's what they've risen over that period of time.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Commissioner Barnett's suggestion of a 20-cent increase on the tipping fee at this point would be a logical thing to do. I don't know how the other commissioners feel about that.
I think it would probably be logical. Is there a time frame that anybody, you or Jim or anybody knows on this tax question that's in Topeka now, though, that could drive our mill levy up another 10% or more?
There are some proposed bills. No one really knows how far they're going to advance this year. There's also a lawsuit that's trying to work its way through the court system. Tradition for the legislature is if there's an active lawsuit, they don't pass laws, but tradition, I think, has been thrown out the window on this one because you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of impact on certain kinds of industries. Will there be a bill work this year and successfully go through the legislature? I can't tell you for sure, Commissioner, but I can tell you I honestly believe there's people out there that are working to accomplish that, yes.
That's one of my reasons, that and our $10 EPA fee, that I'd like to keep it low. But I do understand that, you have to cover your costs, and you do have to have a little bit of money in a reserve for equipment needs. I understand that, so I wouldn't fight against the 20 cents, but that could happen. The 20 cents happen, then we could have this 10% increase in the mill levies and another 5 on our EPA, and there's all kinds of things that could make things more expensive, but the dime there is going to be the least of the worries, I'm sure. So I wouldn't.
Well, and Mayor, if I can, what we will have to do is have Ross prepare an ordinance to put that rate increase in effect, and you will need to deal with the ordinance at the next meeting.
So I think we're on agreement. We can have an ordinance drawn up to that effect, Ross, and we'll make a decision. Okay. All right. Next item is under old business. It was an addendum, and it's item C. It's professional service agreement, wastewater backup power. Agreement between the City of Parsons and HDR Engineering Incorporated for professional service in connection with the project known as wastewater backup power. Agreement shall be on the basis of hourly rates plus reimbursable expenses not to exceed the following. Topographic survey phase, $5,800. Facility plan phase, $7,500. Design phase, $35,900. Total of $49,200. The recommendation is to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on the agreement. Brett, I'll turn this over to you so you can have some input on this item.
Commissioner Shaw, you mentioned the EPA issue that we have ongoing, and this is exactly one of them. It was cited in the EPA field evaluation that we did not have our backup power system hooked up. And then it was also cited under the Kansas Department of Health and Environment annual inspection that we lost our secondary power when Westar made some construction improvements out in that distribution network. They do have a switching gear out on the road, but our feed is aerial. Means there's power poles and lines, and are susceptible to any kind of event that might take those down. The EPA, this is one item that the EPA will not give up on. They will push us to standby power, and now KDH&E is also in that same driving position. The issue we have is can we convince them that this is not the highest priority? So what we would like to do is go ahead and design the system in the event that we cannot convince them that this is the highest priority. We are truly hoping that they will allow us to work on the inflow and infiltration issues for a short time frame before they make us do this secondary power. Also included in this is the lift stations that we do have in town that do not have secondary power source. So there would actually be 4 generators. 3 would be permanent installations, and 1 would be on a portable trailer system that could go from Orchard Park down to Rosewood and pump the wet well dry and then go back and forth, which is certainly acceptable. We need to put this in place. The priority for this in terms of being constructed will be determined in the remedial mediation plan, which is after data is collected and it is analyzed, then we start prioritizing improvements. This will be one of the items that will be included in that. And that hopefully will start taking place by the end of, no later than the end of this year, if not earlier. So you have started the process on the manhole evaluation. You will shortly be getting a request to do. In fact, we already have proposals out. They're due back 12th to 14th. Well, on the stormwater system, and those will be reviewed with you all, and hopefully we can move forward with that evaluation of that system. Then you will also be getting a contract shortly to hire an outside vendor service for cleaning and cammering of all 18-inch and larger wastewater lines within the community. So once all that data is collected, and they're already analyzing rain data. Of course, we collected a lot of dry weather flow for them, and we have had some rain events that have shown some areas of concern. But when all that data is put together, you will have specific projects identified along with the need to go ahead and construct this standby power. It's just not a choice, to be honest with you. We do have a standby generator that's on a trailer located at the wastewater treatment plant, but it is not anywhere large enough to run the plant. So we are going to evaluate, instead of just putting it on Purple Wave, we are going to evaluate, do we have a need to establish a community center in the event of an event where we need standby power to generate, to provide heat source or provide air conditioning source. For example, and this is just an example, so don't run with this. Could we, for example, hook this up to that generator up to this building and at least provide a place for people to come and be air conditioned or provided heat and maybe even sleep during an event? Those kind of events have happened all over the country. I don't know what you did during the tornado. I wasn't here. But can we do that, or is it more logical to sell the existing generator?
Will the generator, would it be purposeful to one of the lift stations?
Potentially. We will evaluate that during this process. Chances are it's way too big. You want to try and size more appropriately, but we will be asking that question.
Where's the biggest lift station, most power moving sewage?
Sure, that's where you would go to and analyze that.
Where's that at?
I'm guessing Lincoln Lift would be the largest of the ones we have.
Well, there's an advantage to it. I mean, I'd rather see that there with a little overpower than underpowered, and I don't know, I mean, if you buy new ones, you're going to buy the right size. I know that, but that'd cut a lot of expense down if it could be utilized for that. I already have one on board.
But that's something that will be looked at, along with some other options, perhaps.
And you never know if you've got one. If you have an electric blow out there on your generator or something happens to it, you'd have a spare even at that to set in and take over, you know?
If it's sized correctly.
Yeah.
Fred, the funds for this, is it coming out of wastewater, is it coming out of the funds that we
It will
got?
come out of the EPA
fund? Okay.
fund, yes.
All right. Okay. Any other questions, gentlemen?
If not, I'd move approval of.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor York?
Yes. Okay, next item on the business is new business. Commissioner Barnett requested 2 items be removed, moved out of the consent docket into new business. The first item of that is item H, which is Joplin Regional Partnership on our information. So, Commissioner Barnett?
Well, I'm curious of this. This is a yearly dues. What response have we had out of this in the last year?
Let me go real quick, Jim. Carolyn has been able to participate in several of their contact points. They, in turn, represent us at multiple locations throughout the country. She went to them to Dallas and actually had one of the most productive, as far as contacts, sit-downs with site selectors that we've had in a while. It compared very favorably with the trip that we made to New Jersey with the Kansas Department of Commerce, where we sat down with site selectors face-to-face and discussed details of Parsons and Lebec County. This is not an item that you can count the number of jobs you secure in one year. This is an investment in the community and an investment in the future. And probably the biggest, or one of the more important things is we're able to do that in a cooperative manner with 2 other entities now and save ourselves some money and not reduce the contact possibilities that we have. This can only be evaluated based on its potential to actually land a company that will help. And don't be so naive to think that landing a company in in any of these counties or even in the Joplin area if it's a large enough facility that it will not help Lebec County, because it will. So this is an investment in the future. It provides us a vehicle to keep our name out there, keep it fresh, and a lot of attention is giving to regionalization and how you are successful at tying yourselves to other entities for that presentation, for that opportunity to talk to somebody about our area.
Well, my question is this is sort of like, it's not a great lot of money, but over a period of time, this kind of resembles retail attractions. It's a fee, and, you know, and we've had it a year. I just, positive response, have we had anybody really come into our city? Have we had any intent? Have we had any look, any prospecting? That's where I'm getting.
You know, one thing, you know, about the situation here, the exposure that you can get to a city, it's pretty unwise to do nothing to try to build up a city, you know. And with this amount of money, especially with the county being in a joint effort and Great Plains Development in a joint effort, I think it's very positive for our community. Now, Jim, do you want to make any comments, or?
No, Carolyn wasn't here. I'm just here to answer any questions. And just quite frankly, with all due respect, we're still going to belong to WIDA. If you'd say no to this, we would go spend $8,950 to belong to the World Economic Development Association. This is the way we can belong to them and only spend $39.33.
Right.
Also, when we go to these trade shows, Carolyn and I have already made contact with some of the people in the Joplin Regional Partnership. They've been going to these shows for the last 9 years. Going there with them is going to help us cut the learning curve down, and hopefully, I mean, this is a 5-year process when you start going to these shows. First of all, you just find out who goes. I mean, the booklet that explains who's at these shows is that thick. And you have to get to know who the decision makers are at the companies at these shows. Hopefully this is the way that we're going to be able to take that regional partnership to these shows and help cut that learning curve. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
I want to ask, I know that Carolyn sent me an email because I asked a question about a joint meeting between the County Commission and the Great Plains Industrial Park, ourselves, and a representative from Joplin Regional Partnership. And I think she suggested a date in March, possibly.
It's in the works. They're trying to work their date around us, and that will happen.
So that'll help to lay out and explain just what this is and how it can potentially help us. I think it's a good investment.
I think the commission all know we can go enforce the dinner we got with the legislators up in Topeka was a great way to show that. They take you seriously when you're there representing a large regional partnership.
Sure. All right, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I don't deny that, and you got to invest in something, but we've had this salesmanship, which I just think it's a benefit to them because they're putting $12,000, say, close in their coffer. It promotes them, and they go to them. I'd like to see 5 of them people pay us the same money, and we'll promote them.
Well, if you're seriously considering the fact that Parsons being attached to the Joplin name is of less value than Joplin being attached to the Parsons name, I completely disagree. So this is a way for us to do that and walk in there with a much bigger stick.
Sure, I understand. Thank you, Jim. The recommendation is to approve the membership in Joplin Regional Partnership. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Barnett?
Everybody thinks it's a good deal, and I hope it is, so I'll vote yes with you.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor York?
Yes. Next item under new business is, again, Commissioner Barnett asked this to be pulled out of the consent docket. It's item J. It's under new business now. Contract for professional services, Olson Associates. Olson Associates has furnished a contract for professional services for consulting and design of improvements at US 59 Highway, North 16th, from 1,650 feet south of US Highway 400 to 510 feet north of US Highway 400 at a cost of $25,000. The recommendation is to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on the contract. Commissioner Barnett?
Well, this company, I understand, and I asked, we don't have to bid this company. He's an on-site engineer for the city under some circumstances in the past. We just awarded him a contract, and I think it's great that we're getting some new water lines out from the water tower. $25,000. 2 weeks ago, it pops up again, just another fee. It's a straight $25,000. He done the engineering on the dam, city dam at the water plant. He done the engineering out at the lake. My skeptical is, the lake was a disaster. Went on 18 months and wasn't attacked. There's nothing. The state was kind of ridiculed because they didn't know what was going on. So I got a little insight into that because I doubted that, because I think the state does answer questions, and I found out they had responded right back with a call back in March of 2011 to this company. The very next day they asked. They had a permit of 2011 in June, and here it is. And I'd asked Derek, are they started today? Or nothing. So this has been a year and 8 months, and we haven't got progress made on the lake, getting our dam in there. They've dragged their feet, and if I was a company or a city, I'm just going to pleasantly say that we should have been checking on it. We signed a contract in June and left the bid and the permit in 2011 in June, and we had no response. Where's the accountability? Where is the checkup? We'd ought to have it moving.
Well, I think, the lake being our only source of water, since we don't have a second source of water, and the contractor trying to determine whether new technology, which would be safer, to be able to access the construction on that facility, I think that the cautionary time that Olson and Associates took to make sure that we secure our water source to see if there was another way, it cost the city nothing. So now it was determined that it's not feasible to do that, and now we're going back to the old method, and I think we're going to start work on it. So I think it was very wise for us to look at that, since it's our only water source.
Well, I do know that the State Resources Board sent Olson's a memo that says, we want this, 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 and this for this new technology. They did not send it to them. They had not received it. It drug 7 months. And, we wasted a lot of time. Maybe it's not a detrimental feature, but the company on board, they act a little lax on it. They've done other stuff, and I'm looking at 50, another so much. I think probably if we would back up and look at the feasibility of the money we've spent with this company, we might be possibly looking at an on-board certified engineer, and we can take care of all this stuff right here and have him. I think they're a little lax, and I'd like to see this step up. They did not even have the right permit number. And gentlemen, when I get a red flag and I find out something's wrong, I want to know what's wrong. And I talked to the state. I did. I called him, and he told me what was wrong. And I think I furnished you with the dates and the accreditation of what was wrong.
Commissioner Martin, I think that you've discussed this at length at other meetings and other sessions, so we're very much aware of the opinion that you have on the situation. But I think what we have before us here now is a contract for Olson and Associates, which is an engineering firm for professional services that's done a good job for the City of Parsons over a number of years. So I think at this point, we just need to have a motion to either approve or deny it. So does anyone want to make a motion on item J?
Well, I really think, I'm wondering the price. It's $25,000. We pop up another one and it's just another $25,000. Is every little service a $25,000 fee?
This is a pretty substantial service, but engineering is expensive.
I know.
And I don't know if you can hire one in-house engineer and then be able to do all this, because this is not just one guy. This is a company with a
multitude.
So I don't think you could just make
Yeah,
that simple
I-
trade-off.
I kind of think they're spoiled and they're kind of on board and I don't see them, unless they have to bid the jobs, they've got it automatically and I'm a little concerned about it.
Well, and knowing my past 4 years with the services that they provide, I've met some of these people, talked to them on occasion, and I don't really have any issues with it. So again, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I'd make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on this contract with Olson Associates for the design and consulting work on Highway 59 as listed here.
I'll second.
Commissioner Barnett?
Under the circumstances I see, I gotta say no. I think they need to step up to the plate.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor York?
I'm stepping up to the plate and I'm saying yes. Okay, next item. Next item is public comment. So is there anyone here that would like to address the commission? Step to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Juanetta Barnett, 3533 Belmont. I'd like to take this time to thank all of the new commissioner candidates that we have that are willing to take their time to serve our community. I wish them all good luck. And Tom and Frankie, I wish you good luck in your re-election bid. On the city calendar for February the 1st, it says, staff meeting with commissioner candidates, plural. Frankie came up to this meeting, and he was told by Mr. Gress that he was not able to attend that meeting because he had not made an appointment. Now, this says candidate. There was another candidate here to attend the same meeting thinking the same thing. They didn't need an appointment. It says commission meeting with commission candidates, staff meeting. So, Frankie was denied and he was cussed at by Mr. Gress. I thought that was very inappropriate. I don't appreciate that kind of language. It's very unprofessional, and I see you shaking your head, but it's the truth. And I would like to suggest that when you have a brain burp, Mr. Gress, you have a synonym book in your pocket and you can pull it out for a better choice of words, which would be a lot more professional. Now, with all this being said, I looked at this and I thought, are we going to have a single meeting with each candidate? Now, we've got 7 to 9 heads of departments. That's roughly $600,000 a year in salary, $30 an hour per person, approximately. It seems a little counterproductive to have a meeting one-on-one with everybody. I think each candidate, and especially if they're new, would benefit from the questions and answers of other candidates. I'm not trying to tell Mr. Gress how to run the city. That's not what it's all about. But I was a little disappointed in how he handled his anger towards Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Does anyone else like to address the commission? Yes, sir. Would you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
Gary Kenneth, 1181 24,500 Road, Parsons. It's all about quality of life. I don't think there's any argument ever that is all about quality of life. You know, I've been to several of these meetings and I try to be very objective. Today, I was really here specifically about the fire. Carolyn and I have a fire contract with the city. And that fire contract is truly quality of life. You know, I can sleep at night. You know, I look at that and I think, that if there's an emergency, it's 911, we have a fire at this location, they respond. I pay for that, and thank you very much. And we'll pay for that as long as we live there. And I truly believe that anybody that lives outside the city limits should pay for it also. I mean, if it's $150, pay for it. And then I also think that Carolyn and I are very fortunate that financially we can do it. Because I also know there are probably people that live outside of the city limits financially cannot do it. That's right. So I get caught in that trap. One part says, be forgiving, be kind, be generous, because again, that's all about quality of life. And the other thing says, financially, if you want that quality of life, because you live outside the city limits, because you choose to do that, pay for it. I guess my message is clear. That if we pay that $150 because that's our choosing, man, everybody ought to pay that. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's just the way it is. It's a no-brainer. Some people say they need more information. To me, that's pretty clear. I mean, that's just real clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would wish to address the commission? Yes, sir. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jack Perez, 3020 30th Drive. I was invited to come up and visit with city staff February the 1st, and it was an informative session. It wasn't a meeting, it was more of a information set. You know, I got to meet everybody. I got to see. I formed some opinions on how well city staff works together. They have a lot of respect for each other. They have one common goal: to improve the city of Parsons. And it wasn't more than that. So I do take issue with somebody saying that was counterintuitive. I enjoyed it. I really did. So, just wanted to set my record straight.
All right, thank you.
May I respond to that, Mayor?
No, ma'am, is it, I don't believe so, not today. You've already spoke to the commission, so. Is there anyone else that'd like to address the commission? Since there's no other public comments, we'll move on through the agenda. We're at staff comments. Fred, we got 3 items here, so you want to cover that information?
We've already dealt with, so.
Okay.
First one is class action lawsuit settlement on the atrazine issue. I think I'll let Ross just tell you the process that we went through, which wasn't much of a process, but, and then I do have some suggestions for you to consider.
Okay.
We were approached by the people conducting the lawsuit. It was a class action lawsuit. I think at one time that actually talked to City Commission maybe a couple of years ago. I believe the former commissioners were still on at that time. And then they contacted us this fall and said that the settlement was in place and we were eligible for some funds if we wanted to still sign up for it. So we went ahead and signed up for that. Obviously funds were in place and we didn't have to take any real action on our part. We wanted to see what we would get. And at first they sent us a letter immediately after that saying if you qualify for the minimum $5,000 payment plus less than 1/4% or less than 0.4% of any funds remaining after legal fees are paid, and everybody else gets their money. So we didn't anticipate a great deal out of that. And we had heard nothing from them on the progress of the settlement or anything like that until just a couple of weeks ago, and they sent us a thing saying your share is $227,000 and change. Of course, then they sent us the check, and I think the funds are now available. There's no restrictions on that. Obviously, the atrazine is a herbicide that washes into the water used on corn, so it's usually something that comes in the water in the spring. Kansas does require us to test for it. We test for it once a year, and there have been a few times we have exceeded the Kansas amount or the maximum amount, but that is not something that happens on a consistent basis. and the state of Kansas hasn't had us publish or do anything in conjunction with that. I think the bigger problem with it is you're going to be more in the corn belt area where you have a lot of corn versus our area isn't a large corn producer, but we were still able to qualify as well as a lot of other communities in our area for proceeds from the lawsuit.
$227,850 that came to us unannounced, and I mean, we went into this thinking we might get 5,000 and share a little bit more, but so a lot of people are asking, what do you do with that? And staff does have some suggestions, and their own suggestions. This body can do what you want with it, but we would like for you to consider. Number one, we would like for you to consider allowing staff to work with the RAPS program, soil conservation, the whole group that we worked with out at the lake when we established natural buffer filtration acreage around the lake. Mother Nature will take care of a lot of these things if we let her, and by establishing those buffer zones, she will try and take care of some of these loads. We don't have an estimate on how much that might cost. I suppose some of other things that you could do with it, I think I mentioned last Thursday night that we'd recommend that you consider establishing a restricted reserve. I have some guidelines that have been used in other places and things that we thought of in terms of restricted reserves. Basically, a restricted reserve is a savings account. It's restricted on what kind of things it can be used for, and it would be restricted to this body authorizing the expenditure of those monies. It would not be a staff decision. Most everything is not a staff decision, but the restricted covenant would specifically have language in there that would restrict the utilization to a commission action item. You could choose to spend it just about anywhere, or you could choose to spend it to fund unfunded budget items that we've carried from year to year in the water fund. As an example, only an example, we do park a lot of equipment outside year-round. Tractors, trucks, the Vector truck. We ferry back and forth to the wastewater plant in the wintertime so that it isn't out in the elements. We scavenge a spot to put in the sewer camera system. It's in a trailer. It would be nice someday to have an enclosed area at the water plant that we could simply store the equipment there so that we don't have lost time chasing it from somewhere else. That's just an example, though. So we look for you for guidance on what you want to do with these dollars, and we will do with it what you tell us to do with it. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to stand and try and answer them.
You say the buffer zone along the creeks, as I said the other day. I think that's well within the government limits. Why should we, if we could campaign and take a survey of the farmers along there, most of that land along them creek banks is wasteland. And the government has programs that they will pay those farmers to sign that up and establish grass. It's like you did at the lake. You got $90,000 of trout at the lake. You got $90,000 in the grass buffer zone. And that was through the government. If the government would allow this, and I think the government Clean Water Act and stuff, as bear in mind to get a hold of them, I think they'd promote and help you promote this. That would relieve you from giving somebody us paying for it. It's their land, and they can sign it up for years. And if they don't sign it up, we give them one little incentive. That's the end of it, or you're going to incentive every year.
No.
See, they can sign that stuff up for like a 10-year period. It'd be a bonus to them to have a 10-year period versus us giving them a little incentive for a 1 year or a one-time deal.
Commissioner, that's exactly what we're asking authorities to do, is work with the programs that are out there and see if we can get it established.
But we shouldn't
Can I
offer
sit
our
here?
money.
Can I sit here and tell you that we may not have to add a little sweeten to the pot to get them interested in doing it? I don't know. I hope not. It's a great program the way it is, but we want the authority to go out and work with it, and then before we sign up for any dollars as an extra incentive, it's got to come back here to get approved. The whole program has to come back here. They can do it, they can strike agreements with the private farmer, that's true. We think we need to be open-minded about this, and if we have to provide a little bit of extra incentive to get it done, it's well worth the investment, because what the buffer zones will do for water quality.
It's well worth them farmers to sit back and not sign up and do it if you'll offer them extra money too. That's just,
Maybe so.
that's just human nature.
Maybe so.
Well, I think that's what you're informing us that you're going to do. I mean, of course, we'll try to do it without using any funds first, correct?
Yes.
And then if it's required to entice them, then it'll be brought back to this commission so we can make a decision on it.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, I think it'd probably be done through the Soil Conservation Service and Clean Water Act. I'm sure that they would sign up for a 10-year period. I think it's the first incentive and why we should offer without them saying no, then we might go from there. But if the message is already out there, we're going to pay them extra money. They're going to sit there on it, and they're going to want extra money. That's human nature, as I say. I do think it's a positive move to get that cleaned up, because I see a lot of wash off on creek banks and what so far back. I know out here on South 10th, we got the buffer zones back from it. And I'd like to see a survey of public input. What they'd like to do is taxpayer money, and it's water money. And the other night, I think there was quoted something about this ought to go into water fund. Well, I'm agreeable to that. It ought to go into water fund. And if we could lay water pipes with it, that'd be a plus, because we're going to have to do it someday, which I've said time and time again. I don't know what the actual number is, but we've had 70-some big water leaks this year, and they've not been cheap. A lot of water loss, a lot of pay, a lot of chemicals, and a lot of stress on our producing it and losing it. So,
Commissioner, we're asking for guidance here.
that's what I'm trying to say. I'm just putting out suggestions myself, and it's something we're going to have to do in the future, no matter what. It's coming sooner or later.
I can sit here and tell you that we are going to have to invest heavily in filters at the plant someday. I can tell you that at some point in time, we're going to have some of the larger motors go out. If we haven't raised rates to maintain those things, then a restricted reserve might very well be used for that purpose. You establish a restricted reserve to make it more difficult to get to the dollars, and you restrict it to be used for certain things, certain types of things. This is something that has been preached in the budget process for 5 years. We need restricted reserves, and here's an opportunity to take some money that we didn't have, that we didn't know we were going to get, this amount, and start that restricted reserve. It makes sense to do this. But we will do what you all tell us to do. You want us to go out and buy $200,000 worth of water line materials, we will be happy to do that. It's going to set for a while, but we will be happy to do that. So whatever you would like for us to do, we're simply providing you information and asking for your guidance.
I think the money came strictly for water fund. I think the RAPS program should be pursued and see what, we've talked about that even before the lake project, was seeing what we could do about the buffer zone from intake to water source.
Right.
I think we should pursue that, and I think the reserve fund is, I said at Thursday night meeting, we've always needed a reserve fund, so, and it's got to come back to the board, so the governing body will, whatever's left, show that.
Upon this water fund, I'd like to ask a question on that, back to, I think, 2006, we got a $1.81 million lawsuit that we got from faulty construction of our water plant. I thought that was put into a water fund and back there. Now, through the budget papers and whatever, I see that fund is dwindled to $54,000. If I remember right on it.
I don't know what fund you're talking about. And you've known this for a number of years, because I'm the one that said it. When they got that court settlement, they put it in the operating and maintenance fund, to not go into a restricted reserve fund.
Well, it showed
So
in
it has been utilized for O&M for this many years. And the water fund is not in a position with just $54,000 of unencumbered cash. It's in a lot better financial position than that. In fact, well over, I haven't looked at a treasurer statement since, I think, Friday, but it was $2 million plus.
I was just looking in that fund alone. It was, it's
Talking about the water capital.
the water
That's what I
lawsuit
was
fund.
thinking. The lawsuit money went into the regular water fund. It did not go into the utility capital improvement fund. And I
But there-
believe that that's what
I'd
you're
have
looking
to, I'd
at.
have to find it, but it showed on there $54,000.
And I believe that that
I'm-
is
I'm just
the
curious.
utility capital improvement fund.
And the commission moved the money into the water fund. They did put it in a reserve fund, that's correct?
It went
Yeah.
into regular water operation.
Well, I'll find it by the next meeting, and I'll mark it out, and we'll talk about it. But I don't know why it wasn't put in the water fund. Like I say, I think it was one point, it's still mentioned in these budget papers since 2006.
Well, it must have been the commission at that time.
It was
Commissioner.
put in the water fund.
Yeah.
That's where it went.
So it shows separate here of it, on its own.
But you see,
On a line
number-
item.
you see a number, but you're not sure what that number
Huh?
is. Yeah, I'm out of it.
Okay. I'll have it.
Okay.
Uh,
Fred, are you looking, what are you looking for on this? Are you wanting us to make a decision on moving this into a restricted water fund and giving you permission to?
We would have to bring an ordinance back to establish the restricted reserve fund. And within that restricted reserve, we would look for covenants that would restrict it and would provide for a path for it to come out of that fund through this body. What I passed out to you is just a sample of a lot of old revenue bonds that had restrictive covenants. It says the restricted reserve fund balance can be earmarked for a particular piece of equipment. For example, we know we're going to have to change out the microfilter someday, and that's a $200,000 item per bank, probably more than that. You have motors out there that are terribly expensive. You have the building itself that it could be used for. One other item is the restricted reserve balance could be utilized to recovery from a catastrophic event. What's our deductible on our insurance, for example? I don't know on the water plant what that might equal, but if we have a reserve and we have a catastrophic event, then we're money ahead to whatever it is that we need to do at that point in time. You could, as I said earlier, you could authorize use for finance a particular capital item that has not been able to be budgeted, but is probably needed. You can put this money in there with a codicil that says you can use it for unmandated federal or state regulations that make us do something. They make us add a process to the water plant. Seems like you'll never have enough money, but a healthy reserve for the budget our size would probably approach $750,000 to $1 million instead of just the $200,000. So that's a goal, and perhaps you could put in there, and this one's not on there, but you could put a statement in there, a requirement that if you dip into the reserves, then you have to, in the immediate next budget, now you can't tie the hands of future commissioners, but a strong suggestion would be that if you dip into the reserve fund, that you set up a transfer from the operation and maintenance fund back to the reserve to get your reserve built back up. That's just an example. This is yours, it's not mine. It's just recommendations and suggestions for you to consider. Right now, the money's invested at as high a rate as we can get, which aren't real good. But we don't want it left in the O&M. We want it in a restricted reserve position.
So you're looking for a consensus from the commission to be able to get the ordinance?
Have Ross draft the necessary ordinance
there's nothing wrong with the reserve fund, but when you pay for water items or whatever, it's gonna come out of one fund or the other, and no matter if you build this back up, you run short on the other, you're gonna be right back at this fund, so it's just as broad as it is long. You're gonna have to dip into reserve if you run short otherwise, on general.
Well, if, there's only one circumstance I would agree with you that on, and there's no need to extend the discussion, but, that's true if, water rates are not adjusted along the way to take care of the O&M fund. You can run every fund you have into the red if you want.
Sure.
But that's not what we're proposing here. We're proposing to try and make the sound financial capability of the fund even more sound by having a reserve that can step up and do items that pop in on us that we didn't expect.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I think it's a very appropriate thing to do, to put it in a reserve fund and be prepared, because no crystal ball, you don't know what's coming, but you do know it's going to cost. So.
Mr. Barnett?
You advise a summary of itemized things that it cannot be or can be spent for?
That's what we will come back with, but if you have, please review the information and think about it, and please call us with what you would like to see.
A typical capital reserve fund, you set out what the money is being saved for. Now, that can always be changed, so it's not like you've locked yourself into it forever, but at least the public is aware of what those tax dollars have been set aside for, or what in this instance, the settlement proceeds would be set aside.
And it can be changed again by the governing body.
It can be changed anytime by the governing body, that's correct.
And when do you anticipate this?
Anticipate what?
Have that drawn up?
Have drawn up and...
I don't know if you're ready by the next meeting. I would say within probably the next couple meetings.
Right, I'd suggest that any public that has any input, I think they ought to be considered too. They're part of this. They pay for the city. Any suggestions from the public ought to be called in, written in, or suggested.
Okay. Commissioner Cruz?
I think a reserve fund would be a good idea for it to go to.
Commissioner Hogan?
Obviously, it would be a positive move for the city of Parsons to do this. We're very fortunate to have this money available to us, and we need to spend it wisely.
Sure. I also agree, so Fred, you have your consensus.
Thank you. We'll move forward with that. The next item is we just want to simply inform you that the state legislature has authorized us to take a different approach to publishing ordinances. We do not have to publish the full length of the ordinance. We can now publish a summary and give them an exact website where they can go and read the entire ordinance. Now, there are some ordinances that, like bond ordinances, for example, those are still have to be published. But we are going to opt for this, and hopefully the whole purpose is to, one, keep the public informed, but two, also try and do it at a reduced cost for the city. I believe you were given a single sheet of information about the changes in the law, and we are going to move forward with the implementation of this. Should help us on the bottom line on publication expenses. So.
Sure. Okay, anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
All right. We're to commissioner comments. Commissioner Barnett?
Yeah, I got a couple items. Down by Kent Street the other day. What are we doing down at the sewage farmland?
What are we doing?
Well, it looks to me like we got a big manure pile out there.
Yes, for sludge.
Huh?
We stockpiled sludge that we will spread.
You're doing what?
We took the sludge out of the sludge holding building and we placed it in a location that we will go and spread as soon as we can.
When you were hauling it out there, why didn't you spread it?
We only have so much manpower. We borrowing trucks at the time, we got to haul out, and then we have the right to hold it there up to 6 months before we spread it.
You can lay there 6 months. Well, I'm just curious. I seen it out there, and it's probably well over 100 feet long, 3 feet deep, and buku wide. My question is, I didn't know how long it could lay there, but if it lays there, then we have to go back out and reload it. That's double expense, double handling.
We have to double handle it anyway, because we're hauling with trucks. Wherever we take the spreader back and forth across the bridge, 300 times.
You can't come in from the water plant over there anywhere, no gate into them fields from the south?
There is a back way, but you still can ride the tractor and spreader at 300 trips. Trying to save-
Well, I'm just curious with it. I know it's not too far off the creek, and whether it was, if it's a 6-month deal, that's fine. I was curious how much might be washing in the creek, because we got, what, 2.5 inches of rain, and that stuff is, and I was wondering what the contaminant value was, because I do know that you overspread on the land, it does, you get a arsenic poisoning.
Only if there's arsenic in it.
Huh?
Only if there's arsenic in it. We test for arsenic.
Okay, well, on the deal, I seen 2 violations where there was excess arsenic. It wasn't to the danger load, but they will head it off. EPA tested, I guess, and according to their write-up, they headed it off, don't let it get to the danger load. They want it stopped before it ever gets close, so they're not in that. And that was fine for that. You say we're not started on the lake yet. When they supposed to move in here, the 4th?
14th.
February?
14th.
14th. Okay, fine. I got one other issue. A year ago, approximately, I brought up a deal from a citizen. I've got it again. Down in Forest Park, we had the park system do a major planning survey of the parks. We didn't move ahead on it. It went back. It was through before them twice. As I remember, it was 2 years ago in March. They done extensive meetings and surveys to tell what they need to do with the parks to eliminate stuff or inadequate playground equipment. We have not moved forward on that in the 2 years. We thrown it aside. We talked a little about it, but are we going to close them or what? And in the process, Railroad Park, the caboose sitting up there, and the next thing I knew, we had a big slab poured down here in the park. Then we mounted that slab with railroad ties and rail. A year ago, I brought it before the council right here, and Mr. Gress, that it needed to be addressed. That's a safety factor. Kids playing on it. Now, I'm going to tell you why the guy told me. Kids are kids. They're going to get up, they're going to walk on that rail, and they slip off that rail, they go between them ties, they hit their head on the other side. The kid can lay there and die with nobody happens to see him or what. It is a safety issue. It should have been fenced around before we get the caboose moved. I don't know what the problem is, but I would like to see that addressed and the kids be not an enticing thing for them to get hurt on.
Mayor, can I respond?
Sure.
Then I would have to assume that you would like for us to fence off all the playground equipment, because the same thing can happen on any and all of the playground equipment in
Not
all of
near
our
as dangerous
parks.
as this, Mr. This, I worked on the railroad, and if you stepped on the rail and slipped off or what, if you even stepped on it, you were fired. I'm saying kids walk on that rail, they slip, they're kids, they're gonna fall down. I think we just should have had a plastic deal, and it's not my liability. I brought it to the attention, it's a liability, and we're setting the city up for some very costly, maybe litigation over it. It's an endangerment to kids by having it there open and nothing to protect it. It's not a play item. That's my input. And I had another call about it. He's upset about it, so I bring it to you.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw?
I'd just follow that up with, I live a block from the park, and I have grandkids who like to go there a lot more than I do, but I usually go with them. And none of them have ever wanted to go play on that track over there. And I've never seen any kids playing on that, never seen anybody over there. And so I don't think it's very much of a kid magnet, really. But maybe it happens sometimes. And it could be a safety issue. If you fall off of that, you could hurt yourself. But my grandkids, they get into everything, but I've never had them want to go over there. But,
I'm going from the input of the residents to the park.
yeah, I live down there. But I don't see everything, that's for sure. And half of what I see, I don't pay attention to. Let's see. Okay, I've got a couple of things here. Let's see. Where shall I start? got a list of some safety things, health things that I can give to Ms. Martinez after the meeting. So I'll just hand it to you, and maybe you can read it, maybe you can't. And secondly, just the city manager provided a little information in response to a question on the trail that we might apply for a grant for down at the park. One thing, just in the interest of keeping it all out front, there will be engineering costs associated with that that could just about make it a break even for what you save on, like if you build the trail and the water project and all that through the grant 80/20, we might actually save $40,000 to $70,000 over what it would cost just to build the water parts of it. But the engineering could pretty well take up whatever we would save there. That's not a reason not to do it. I think it's probably, basically it's pretty much a wash, and you get a lot of extra improvements for the dollar. But just to say it now instead of having people throw it back at us later, I think it's worthwhile just to be upfront about that. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, in thinking about the fire contracts and all that, I got to looking in this League of Municipalities publication, and we always talk about how Parsons has the highest total mills levied in the city by all taxing units of the first-class cities in the state. But if you look, first-class city is just a city that at some time has had a population of 15,000 or more. That's what a first-class city is. But if you look at all the city of the first class, if you look at all the cities of the first, of the second, and the third class, there are 96 cities in the state of Kansas that have a higher total mill levy in the city by all taxing units than Parsons does. 96. We are the highest of cities of the first class, but there are 96 cities in the state that have higher total mill levies than we do. And in Lebec County, of all the incorporated cities in Lebec County, only Altamont has a mill levy, total mill levy by all taxing units in the city that's lower than us, and it's only less than 2 mills lower than Parsons is. So we don't suck as bad as we thought we did. Just end with that.
Commissioner Cruz?
I have no comments tonight.
Commissioner Hogan?
I can't top that, Tom.
Tom, you made my night. I appreciate the comment. I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Barnett? Yes. Commissioner Cruz? Commissioner Cruz? Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan? Commissioner
Sorry.
Mayor York?